In fact, I still remember the day that I met her. I was instantly and completely at ease with her. She was so spunky, she was so genuine, she was completely forthright in all of her opinions. She was also intelligent, so that was great. Later, Sherry and I were housemates during our college years, and when you get to live with someone, you really know all of their sides and their personalities. So setting up our apartment revealed Sherry Wang, bathroom cleanliness monitor. And going out at night revealed Sherry Wang, dance superstar. And when hanging out with Sherry, it was just so easy to forget that in addition to her fun-loving nature, she was actually perhaps the biggest study bug in all of the friends that we knew. The Sherry Wang in flannel pajamas and glasses with her nose in a book? Yeah, I know her too. Science seemed to come so easily to you, Sherry, and it's no surprise you finished early and you backpacked throughout Europe before you came back for our graduation. When you live with someone, you also start to really understand some of their habits and their love. And at the time, she was wildly enthusiastic about certain television shows. And so these recaps revealed Sherry Wang, Dawson's Creek, and me. Looking back now, little did I realize that Sherry's fondness for Dawson's Creek actually wasn't because of her love for Casey, but it's actually because of the prize-worthy dialogue and the banter between the main cast members. So Sherry, in your honor, I looked up a little piece of dialogue for you. Dawson, but what good is their love if it's not strong enough to overcome those circumstances? Joey, because in spite of those circumstances, they never stop loving. So now we know that all along Sherry Wang is also a huge romantic revealed. Now, is it a coincidence that 25-year-old Casey ends up the proprietor of a local ice house, while 20-something-year-old Sherry ends up meeting Buzzy at the nut house? I don't think so. Now, throughout the time that I've known her, it hasn't really mattered much if we were traveling, if we were volunteering, chatting online, getting coffee. There's just so much that I appreciate about Sherry. Over the years, you continue to amaze me with your generosity, your determination, and your love of adventure. Sherry's the kind of person who doesn't just try something new once and is happy to be a novice. She's the kind of person who takes on a hobby and then conquers it. From surfing to snowboarding to sewing, she's not just content to be a beginner. She's the kind of person who takes swim lessons for the first time in her life, and then a few months later I hear she's doing a triathlon. Now here she is, about to face one of the biggest adventures in her life. And I'm not talking about marriage, Sherry. I'm talking about the journey towards compromise in a marriage. And based on your past successes, I know you'll find a wonderful way to work it out with Buzzy. Buzzy, I'm so excited for you and for Sherry. I have some bad news and some good news for you. So of course, let's start with the bad news. For as long as I've known Sherry, she's always been true to her opinions and to her passions. And now the good news. For as long as I've known Sherry, she's always been true to her opinions and to her passions. So my advice to you is if you take the bad with the good, it's going to work out. It's all worth it. Now everyone, if you'd please raise your glass to toast Sherry and Buzzy. Sherry and Buzzy, congratulations. We're so honored to be part of your big day and so excited for the both of you. In the modified words of one Dawson Lear, Buzzy and Sherry, you were meant to be, period. Cue happy music.
Next up is a man that we have rarely seen without a surfboard or a snowboard under his arm, Mr. Al Sauls, good high school friend of ours. You two mean a lot to me, so I wrote you a letter. Congratulations to Poppins and director Queen Condacula, the Chauncey Mondo Debo. Neither of you TV Idol on this occasion, and I'm so proud of you both. Many of my first experiences were with Buzz. One of my earliest memories in life was meeting Buzz at daycare when I was 3. I believe it's my first memory of having an actual conversation. I don't think you remember, sister. I have no clue what we discussed, but I do remember coming home and telling my mom I met a small boy with a large head. Alas, we did not friend after that day for reasons I do not know. And 13 years passed, and another first happened. I got my first date at a high school party. We couldn't stop talking and wonder why it had taken us so many years to be reunited with this young man. We made a date to surf the next day, and that marked the beginning of the rest of our lives together. Since then, we've been through a lot of exciting times together. Broken down cars in Puerto Jimenez, hostile boatmates in Lombok, girlfriends, phone calls from Phoenix Lake Rangers to our parents, Lizzie McGuire, perfect waves all over the place, even more bad waves, avalanches in the backcountry, Lennox, MPV, being dumped, bouncing at parties, Palm Court Balana, hot tiny rooms, 8:30 a.m. movies, laxativos, meeting Sherry, Southwall, 1,000 hours on the phone, 3,000 text messages, Dan Reynolds products, fishing at the Iron Peg, meeting JP, Tui's in the evening, bowling at Stanford, popsicles in Isla Vista, getting engaged, and now married. Some of my best times in my life. Although the best of times are when we are doing nothing. I cherish every morning we surf together, but more important are the hours spent on the dunes, staring at the hopeless Pacific, just the two of us. Sherry, I'm so happy that Buzz has you in his life. Your strength, intelligence, and femininity is keeping him sharper than ever. Humor, laugh, and wit keep him silly. I was living in New York when Buzz met you. He told me he met a sassy little lady. This was true after our first email exchange. We wrote about the wonders of Peru, bowel movements, and you each found a perfect mate. It says a lot about how amazing you are, that my relationship with Buzz has only grown stronger since you two met. Thank you for being his best friend. Buzz, it's been 17 years since that night at the party, and I look forward to at least another 50 years of phone calls, parking lot mornings, and stupid acronyms. Thanks for being a great friend. I love you guys so much, and I'm so happy for you.
Next up is one of Sherry's good friends from high school, Katie Schilling. She's here. She's not here. Sorry, Katie.
Hi. All right, I don't normally do much public speaking, so I'll try my best. So, as you mentioned, I'm Katie Belden, and for those of you who don't know me, but I've actually known Sherry since those formative, somewhat awkward years, otherwise known as middle school. So it's been a long time, and many people tell us that we actually don't look much different now than we do back then, or that we did back then. But unfortunately, I wish I could say I had some crazy stories from when we were in middle school or high school, but we were, I would say, more on the studious spectrum of things, but we definitely had some good, wholesome fun. And I think she saved most of that for the college years and beyond. So I wanted to just mention kind of the three things that I think make Sherry so special and why I think Buzzy is a very lucky man to be marrying my friend tomorrow. These are just my thoughts, and I'm sure many of you would have more to add to the list. But the first one is actually my mom, which is kind of random. But I don't know that Sherry knows this, but I think I've mentioned it to her more recently, probably more around my wedding. But every time I mention Sherry to my mom, and she's like, "Oh my God, Sherry's so wonderful. I just love Sherry. Sherry's so wonderful." And she'll go on and on like that until I finally nod my head and say, "Yes, Mom, Sherry is wonderful." And I always found it kind of weird because it's not like growing up, we all hung out a lot together. But when thinking about it more, I thought, well, you know what? I think moms just know. And my mom has always known that Sherry's a good seed, and you always want your kid to be hanging out with the cream of the crop. So whether, I was younger or now in my 30s, she's still encouraging me to hang out and be good friends with kind of the best of the best. So my mom definitely gives you and Buzzy congratulations this weekend, Sherry. And secondly is sumo wrestling, which is also kind of odd, but it also somewhat alludes to, I think, what Susan touched on, is that I've always been impressed that Sherry is never afraid to try anything. And when I think about Sherry in high school, one of the things that sticks out for me is actually from our grad night. And I have this vision of Sherry. She was suiting herself up in this ridiculous, inflatable sumo outfit. And she proceeded to try and sumo wrestle one of our male classmates. And I'll never forget, and I have pictures too, and I wish I would have brought them, but there's Sherry like lying on the ground and moving it up. It's gigantic sumo suit. And it just goes to show that she's not afraid to try anything, whether it be surfing, getting her PhD, being in our dance production in high school. So I've always just really admired her for that, and that no matter whether she succeeds or fails, which doesn't happen very often, but as was the case when she was trying to sumo wrestle, she's always laughing at it and enjoying herself along the way. And the last one is just all of her friends and family that are here today. I've had a chance to meet some more of her family at her bridal shower, which there were so many of them, and also at her bachelorette party. And I just know that with all of that support, they're going to be, Sherry and Buzzy are going to have a great future. So those are just my thoughts. And I guess lastly, just to raise a glass and cheers to them. And just may you always have love in your life, and even though we may not be awkward teenagers anymore, may you always be young at heart.
My hand.
Next up are a couple partners in crime that Buzzy has known over the years from Stanford. Let's bring up Lily Mandel and Aaron Horowitz.
All right, we're going to talk a little louder so the boys in the back can hear us. Okay, hi everyone, I'm Erin.
And I'm Lily.
And we've known Buzzy since we were freshmen at Stanford when we were all in the same dorm. And I know these days he's going by Buzz, but back then we used to know him as Buzzy.
Or Rolf, when he would leave anonymous notes on our whiteboards, or Seth, or that nerdy guy from Alondra when he would hack into our email accounts.
So our freshman dorm was somewhat unique in that it was comprised of 2 floors of girls and 1 floor of boys. Around campus, it was known as the Man Witch.
If you play intramural sports, we're known as Man Witcher United.
So, as math would have it, Buzzy wound up having way more girlfriends than guy friends. But, as I'm sure you can imagine, Buzzy wasn't exactly one of the girls. Unlike most well-mannered ladies, Buzzy had not learned the art of being passive-aggressive, unnecessarily complimentary, or ordering a salad with dressing on the side. In fact, he could be quite blunt and critical. For example, he would not hesitate to tell you a well-planned outfit looked weird or ridiculous.
And halfway through a school project that you're working on, he wouldn't hesitate to tell you that your partnership should be dissolved. But where he was sort of like a girlfriend, when you were complaining about your roommate, Buzzy would not only help you understand, and he would not only listen, he would also add to your criticism.
But like any good girlfriend, he did introduce me to my husband, and he also called us when the coolest celebrity to grace Stanford's campus, Woody Harrelson, was hanging out at his fraternity after a college speaking engagement on all the merits of hemp.
And the first thing that he told us about Sherry was that we were going to really love her, which, coming from Buzzy, the critic at large, was high praise. And we knew right then that she was the one, and she is.
So, let's raise a glass to our girlfriend, Buzzy, and his amazing bride-to-be. Cheers!
All right, next up is one of Sherry's good friends from grad school, Anna O'Connell.
Hi everyone, I'm Anna, and Susan stole all my talking points, so I will just go right over them again. What happens when you're not first in the lineup? So I was Sherry's friend and roommate for a while in grad school, so I've known her for 13 years now, which sounds like a really long time. And we stayed close friends even after I moved away from grad school, got married, and had a kid. So as I was thinking about what I wanted to say tonight, I thought maybe what I could share was some of what I learned about her and the time that we were friends, and especially when we lived together. So I decided to name my list, and I'm calling it When You Were With Sherry because if you know her very well, you're either with her or you're not. You're with her, so this is for you. So when you're with Sherry, you will always know who The Bachelor gave his roses to last week, who is America's latest next top model, which new star went to Safeway just like us, and anything else celebrity related. Helpful for trivia or things like that, so that's good. When you're with Sherry, you will have an extraordinarily clean bathroom, free of any stray hairs in your head. In other words, when you're with Sherry, no hair is allowed. When you're with Sherry, you will have excellent communication. She doesn't just use her words, she uses her hands too. For example, this will be hard with the microphone, but I'm going to give it a try anyway. I was driving to the pool to go swimming, and I heard this girl on the radio talking about how she doesn't like America's Next Model. In fact, she just told me she was going to plug in the camera.
She didn't do it.
Sherry, shopping and fashion are extremely important. You will have magazines around the house to prove it. And just a little fun tip for a rainy day, if you take her Lucky magazine, which has stickers in it for I like this, I'm going to buy it, just move them around to random pages like zip cream or cut out denim shorts. You can watch her face as she's flipping through. When you're with Sherry, you will always be completely protected from the sun, evil, cancer-causing thymidine dimers, so lucky you. On a more serious note, when you're with Sherry, you will always know exactly where you stand. For better or for worse, and I would argue for the better, she is 100% and completely honest. When you're with Sherry, you have the most loyal friend and partner. She sticks by the people she cares about through even the very bad times. And you will find that, unlike some people you might know, she can take the same honesty that she dishes out, which is a really great trait in a partner. And finally, when you're with Sherry, you better watch out because she is determined. No challenge will keep her away from what she wants. When I first met Sherry, she didn't know how to swim, and she wanted to complete a triathlon, so she took lessons. And I don't remember how long, Sherry, like a year maybe later, she did her first triathlon, so she finished it, although she did have to be rescued through the water. She made it still. So Sherry and Buzzy, I'm so happy that you two are finally getting married. Because I really do think that you're an excellent couple. And I'm so happy for you to start your lives together. I just have a little piece of advice. I've been married for a few years now, so I can pass this down. The secret to a successful marriage is this. Whenever you're wrong, admit it, and whenever you're right, just shut up. I didn't bring my wine glass up here, but everybody would raise their glasses. I'd like to make a toast. To the happy couple, may they share everything in life, including the house
up is a very distinguished gentleman and Buzz's favorite brother, Joe Bonanno. Right, so I was actually hoping to do two toasts. One first to Sherry on behalf of the whole Bonanno family here. Welcome to the family. So a quick toast for Sherry joining us. And as for Buzzy, like Gordy said, Buzzy's my older brother. People can usually tell when they see me for the first time. If they don't know me, they usually stare at me for a few seconds and say, "You look really familiar." And I'll just, at this point, I just say Buzzy, and then they get it and they say, "Ah, right, you must be his brother." So people always want to ask what it was like growing up with an older brother, and people know brothers can be competitive some of the time. I wanted to ask, actually, is anybody else here a younger brother who has an older brother? Wow, not very many people. Great, so looks like about 4 or 5 of us. So the rest of you are going to learn something new. I'm going to tell you about the phenomenon of older brother magic. So it turns out that as a younger brother, you always want to compete with your older brother. A lot of the time you want to be just like your older brother. But no matter what you do, even if you're way better than your older brother at something, you're always going to lose. Because your older brother will use older brother magic to beat you. So for example, sometimes people ask me, well, what was it like growing up with Buzzy when he was your older, your big brother, but you're actually taller and bigger. But Buzzy had a really good strategy for this one, which is that he was born 3 years earlier than me. So the whole time we were growing up, he was actually always taller than me. And as soon as I actually got to be his height, Buzzy created this thing called college and went to it. So he wasn't and of course, sports. Buzzy and I, always played a lot of sports growing up. And people always they look at me now and they say, "Oh, you're obviously the athletic one." So, but he had his magic again, so I could never beat him. For example, we like to play wiffle ball a lot in our yard. And Buzzy did a really smart thing. He looked at the size of our yard and the shape of it, and he said, if I choose to be left-handed, then it's going to be easier for me to hit the ball out of this yard when I play my younger brother later. So Buzzy decided to be left-handed. It's caused years of inconvenience. But he could always beat me at wiffle ball. Again, that's just the way older brothers do it. And recently people have asked me, what's it like now that you're more educated than your older brother? It's true. I finished a PhD, so that I'm more qualified. But Buzzy totally outfoxed me on this because he realized that if he did an MBA, he could be done in half the time and make twice as much money. And finally, sometimes people look at me and say, "Well, you're clearly the handsome brother."